Hello and welcome to the final Move the Line prop drop show of the year. I'm Ryan Noonan back for Super Bowl 57 to talk about the best way and the most profitable way to bet on NFL football, and that is through player props. And obviously, it is now the Super Bowl. We're not just dealing with player props, we're dealing with all sorts of novelty props and all the things and nonsense that comes along with it. Excited to unpack this here with my friends Connor Allen and Pat Mayo. Start with Pat, the man behind the Mayo Media Network and the Pat Mayo Experience. What's going on, buddy?
Doing well. Connor, we missed Ryan 2 weeks ago when we did the NFC Championship and AFC Championship, but I think did we sweep? Did we sweep the board?
Yeah, I think we did pretty well. And we also had a show a couple of days ago where Noonan's internet went out, and I think we're going to sweep the board again. So you might be kicked off or cursed. I don't know, one of the two, Noonan.
I'm fine with it. I have a ton of other stuff to do. Although I did miss it. I hate missing any shows. Life has been busy for a couple of weeks here. And it's just the internet the other day was really wild. I mean, you're on this all day in the dungeon. It functions perfectly until you go to start the show. And then it feels like I'm, dealing with, 1998 AOL dial-up. And it was very, very sporadic. We had, Kanish laying down, placing his bets while we talk is always a different element to the show as well. But we'll try to cross over some of that stuff. I tried to save some of the actual player prop stuff for this show. We got into more of, I think, Super Bowl novelty type things in that. We'll talk about a little bit of that as well. We'd love to get some of the off the board, bizarre stuff that Pat is looking at here, because I know some thoughts that Connor has, and obviously get some thoughts around the game in general, because I find this game to be very, very difficult to handicap. And I guess we could start there, Pat. Connor and I have talked about this a lot, and I have not had the chance to do so. Obviously, we have two number one seeds. We have a 1.5 point spread, total kind of sitting on a key number. We have a team that, again, we're 2 weeks in, so no one hasn't heard these narratives yet, right? But I think the Eagles are really tough to cap because they are really good and have genuinely played no one. They have no signature wins. They've had an insane run to be able to get here. But I do think everyone thinks that they are good. And they got a quarterback that's also kind of dealing with an injury issue that I think is okay, but maybe not. Hasn't really been as accurate. Maybe he's not willing to run as much. And then we have Chiefs, who are here again. We know the Chiefs story. Mahomes obviously not 100%. 2 weeks to kind of get it right is probably pretty good. Another very common theme that we've heard a lot this week is the Chiefs probably have the three best players, right? They got Mahomes, they got Kelce, Chris Jones, and then the Eagles probably have 4 to 20, right? They definitely have the best roster overall. How do you cap this, Pat? What are your thoughts on it? Do you have any side, total, or anything like that? Traditional bets?
I have a total lean. I don't really have a lean in this game. Forced to pick, I'm picking the Eagles -1.5, and I would go with what we've seen from the Eagles so far. Sometimes this becomes a great value situation where, they haven't played anyone. I mean, that's not true. They played a bunch of NFL teams, and we saw at different points of the season the Texans take the Chiefs to overtime. The Colts beat the Chiefs. So let's say the Eagles aren't good. That doesn't mean the game's not going to be close, because the Chiefs play close games with almost everyone exclusively. And we have the signature wins for the Chiefs as well, although both in the regular season, they lost to the Bills and the Bengals. The Eagles just made mincemeat out of everyone when Jalen Hurts has been the quarterback. So you could just kind of ride the narrative of the Eagles are just really good and no one's seeing it. So I think there are three potential outcomes in this game. I'm going to cross one of them off, and that's why I'm leaning with the Eagles. I think it's a coin flip either way. It's within the spread. It's within 3 points. Chiefs win, Eagles win by 3, 4, whatever it might be. I think that all makes perfect sense. I could see the Eagles blowing out the Chiefs. I don't see it the other way around, though.
I kind of don't disagree with that, Connor. I mean, we just haven't seen enough. I feel like either way, you're going to sit there very easy to be like, oh, you're a fool. You went against Patrick Mahomes, right? We could be sitting here. I'll have you down here in the basement in the dungeon on Sunday. Looking forward to that. But we'll be looking like, hey, why did we not take Pat Mahomes getting points? Or the Eagles just absolutely boat raced them. We're like, man, this team is so good. We knew they were good. The Chiefs had questions. We tried to fade under 10.5 wins in the preseason because the roster is not as good. They're relying on a ton of rookies, unproven guys, especially in the secondary. I don't know. I feel like hindsight is going to be out there for anyone come Sunday evening.
Connor, actually, let me ask you this. If I told you the final score of this game is 33-13, who do you think wins?
Probably the Eagles, but I think that's probably the main, I
It's
guess.
a good way to frame it.
Yeah. But I guess for me, like there's two questions that need to be answered, and they'll decide basically the game. So it's can the Chiefs stop the Eagles running game? I'm pretty confident that they cannot. And so like I just really struggle to see a way that they load the box. If they load the box, like they're just multiple enough. Like Hurts can run enough, they can do enough, like sweeps with Watkins or whoever they want to get involved enough that like or get the ball out quick enough. I don't think that they can just stop the run. Like, I don't think that that's a thing. And I think that's a massive issue because this Chiefs run defense has played against the easiest schedule in the league. And then in the 4 games that they played that have mattered against good running defenses or running offenses, they've gotten wrecked. And so that's a big issue. On the other hand, though, I think that, like you said, if the Eagles pass defense can, give some issues to Patrick Mahomes, if the pass rush can get home, like it'll be an Eagles blowout. But I don't really think that that's going to happen. And because we've seen this Eagles defense play in 5 games against teams who rank in the top half of offense in the league. In those games, they've allowed 30 points per game. Their EPA per play against the pass drops from 1st to 20th. So I think they're still good. I think that Mahomes will get theirs. I like the over, but I know, Pat, you said you had a total, but I think if it's an Eagles game script, like the game's going under. Like, the Eagles will win 27-13 or whatever, 27-17, the game will go under. But I think that I expect it to be a close either way, coin flip, like you said. But I think there's gonna be a lot of points because I do think that the Chiefs have their way offensively, in addition to the Eagles being able to get their own.
See, I like the under of the 51 right now. And the main reason is I think what the optimal Philly game plan here is, listen, you're not going to score a touchdown every single time you touch the ball. But what you want to do is every time you touch the ball, take as much time as possible on the ground, short passes. Just don't let Patrick Mahomes touch the ball, because at that point, let's say you can limit the Chiefs to 8 drives. If you limit no field goal, no touchdown on 3 of those drives, and you can limit, half of them to field goals and the other half to touchdowns. You have 2 touchdowns, 3 field goals, and 3 stops. Like, you're going to win this game. So, and with the way that the Chiefs passing game looks like now, with no like true vertical downfield threats, a lot of dink and dunk stuff, just a lot of long drive, short yardage plays, that I think the time of possession for both these teams is going to be a key factor in just limiting the overall score of the game. I expect to see a lot of extended drives, potentially a lot of field goals. And if that's going to be the case, then I just don't think that the over is going to get there.
Yeah, no, that's definitely fair. I personally, I just think that there's a little more faith in them being consistently efficient on those drives. So, like you said, there will be a lot of longer drives, but Chiefs, I believe, are one of the worst teams in the red zone at this point at the moment. And I think the Eagles are going to be able to capitalize on that, and vice versa. I really think there's an advantage for this Chiefs team playing a lot of like 12 and 13 personnel with like 2 to 3 tight ends against an Eagles team that doesn't necessarily match up too well against that. And we saw that against Dallas, where they were able to, I think, capitalize on that. Now, they were missing CJ Gardner-Johnson in that game, but that was really their only player they were missing from that game, if I remember correctly. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it can go either way, but I'm glad there's a little disagreement because I like the over a good bit. But I played way more on props. I bet Chiefs team total over 23.5. I bet over 49.5. I bet Eagles team total first half over 12.5. And I know Noonan, you play that too. For me, that was probably one of my favorites, actually, to be honest.
Yeah, part of it's just been such a print fest this season. Is Eagles over 1.5 touchdowns in the first half, Eagles over 12.5, 13.5 at times. It's just been so consistent, especially with Jalen Hurts in the lineup. So it's been, something that our subscriber base has had a lot of success with. Just kind of been like a subscriber bet that people take a victory lap. Shout out typically, Manuel Manny out there, MJ3 has been leading that for us. So so we're gonna do our best here. This is our last prop drop of the season. If you were hanging out with us in the chat, fire away some questions. We'll have some time. We'll get to anything that you have out there. Obviously the board as deep as ever, and you can bet on some wild stuff, especially if you have offshore access. We can try to parse through that. We're gonna have producer Sal share his prop card for the week. We could try to poke holes in that for him and encourage him and see where he can parlay things, or wish he could parlay some more things and see if we can get some good action for Sal. So we want to let you know we're going to take some time off because we have no football to talk about, but we're going to be doing a lot of content all off season here on the football side. Draft is our favorite thing to bet on. We just got out of a draft planning meeting for draft content. So like we are ready to hit the ground running. It is a very profitable market. I do think information markets are just different than anything else. And if you have some sources and you are doing some work, you could find some advantageous lines over the next couple of months. And I'm encouraged, and I know Connor, you are as well. We're seeing more from the books early, even in terms of last year. We were concerned that books are maybe going to pull back a little bit, but they're putting some markets out a little bit earlier even than they did last year. And again, we have less information. We're pre-combine, pre-pro day and all that stuff, but at least encouraged to see that the books are getting out there and at least giving us a little bit to wet our beak.
Yeah, they put out first wide receiver prop, first quarterback prop, and the first overall pick. I mean, we're in February. Like that stuff didn't come out till like late February, early March last year, and that's when we started making our first bets. I mean, there's a ton of really sharp mock drafters, guys who are plugged in, following the information, taking our own personal bias out of it for the most part about whether a player is good, player is not good. I know we talked about multiple times last year, Trayvon Walker, and whether he even deserved to be in the top 5 conversation, and he wound up going number 1 overall. So I think we played last year really well, wound up plus 40 units on the NFL draft, and excited to bring on Scott Smith from the Action Network, one of the best mock drafters in the industry for next year. But excited for that, but let's get into the Super Bowl here.
We'll start with ours. We'll do it traditionally like we do. We'll go around the horn. We'll share 4 each, and we'll get into some of the wonky stuff. Again, get your questions, get Sal's card. And Connor, I'll let you get started with your first one.
Yeah, my first one is Travis Kelce over. I know it's not something I normally chase, but I think it's a good one. Juju, Mecole Hardman's out. Juju Smith-Schuster banged up. Kadarius Toney, a little bit banged up here, and I think it's unlikely all of them roll into this game 100%. I think Kelce will be the focal point of the passing game if he wasn't already. And DVOA says the Eagles are about 6th at defending the position, but they haven't really played any tight ends of substance. I mean, they allowed about average lines to Pat Freiermuth, Zach Ertz, Dalton Schultz, and then George Kittle's performance last week where, the Niners didn't have a quarterback who could throw the ball, to me doesn't mean a whole lot. Allowing they're 17th in yards per game, a lot of the position. But for me, I think when kind of looking at this Eagles secondary, I'm just not really sure how they're going to stop Kelce here, whether they try and cover him with a linebacker. I mean, James Bradbury and Darius Slay tend to, lock up the outside pretty good. Avonte Maddox is in the slot, but I mean, he's 5'9", 184 pounds. So that's not going to work. And if we look at Kelce in the playoffs, like there's just like a next level of what we've seen from him. The last 8 games, he has 78 or more receiving yards in every single one of them, 95 or more receiving yards in every single one except for last week. And what we thought, or at least what I mentioned in the Discord, was like a reasonably tough matchup with how the Bengals have played the Chiefs as of late. So I just think he's going to see a ton of volume. It's a reasonably decent matchup. I think it's the best matchup instead of like kind of the outsides against the Eagles. I think like the middle of the field is probably something more to target. So I like the over 78.5. I know it's a super square bet, but for me, I just see him getting in that 80 to 100 range pretty easily.
Would you play a ladder on him?
Yeah, I mean, I think so, but like it's funny because his range of outcomes once he gets past that was pretty tight. It was like 95 to like 120 and most of those. So I think like a ladder, like 100 plus, but it was like plus 180. So I felt like there wasn't a ton of meat left on the bone for the ladders, but I mean, I think he's going to be like their primary guy for basically the entire game. I'm not sure how the Eagles are going to necessarily have an answer for him without like, I don't know. Can you really like double cover a tight end with where they line him up? I don't even know if that's like possible, Noonan.
No, that's why he consistently eats me. You have to bracket him. Kaiser White, one of their linebackers, is an absolute like disaster in coverage. So I'm sure they'll try to pick on him whenever he's out there on the field. It looks like 76.5 is the best number out there currently. Caesars, you can get down at 76.5. Little juice extra on DraftKings there as well. FanDuel's moved out to 79.5. It's a big number, like Connor said, off brand a little bit. Pat, any initial leans on Kelce, or how do you think the Chiefs get there?
I agree with what Connor said. Like you might as well just parlay it with and do a same game parlay with the reception over as well. If he's going to get to this yardage, he's going to beat the 6.5, which is pretty juiced up right now anyway. But outside of after Kelce, who would you guess leads the Chiefs in receptions?
Yeah. Jerick McKinnon. Yeah.
We talked about this actually before because like Mahomes prop is 295. It's Kelce at 76 and then like a bunch of dudes in the 30s. Like someone's going to get there, but who is it? Or Mahomes is going to be like 100 yards off of his line.
Well, I mean, that leads me to my first one, and that's Patrick Mahomes under 294 and a half passing yards. I have him projected for 25, less than this. And if it's going to be a dink and dunk fest, like he might throw the ball 45 times, but I just don't see them going down the field. Maybe I'm just way off on that take, but anyone who can get down the field against him, as Noonan pointed out, that that Philly has the corners to be able to shut that down. That if it's going to be Jerick and Kelce, like these are low A dot throws. These aren't 50-yard bangers. These are 8-yard gains, 13-yard gains. If that's what you're doing all the way down the field, it's just going to be hard to get there unless they're in extreme catch-up mode the entire time.
Yep, I kind of agree. I mean, I think if Patrick Mahomes under in a big game is probably, as soon as the game starts, you're like, son of a bitch. I got to like cheer for this all game. But I do think it's an inflated number that we've seen, public wanting to back Patrick Mahomes and cheer for him to do Patrick Mahomes things in the Super Bowl. And yeah, it's I think the number is a little too high. I don't have the stomach for it, but I totally think that it's under or nothing. I don't think we're seeing Mahomes go for 3.25, 350 here, especially in the spots. I think some of the spots that Mayo was kind of pointing out too, in terms of game scripts and maybe pace and some things around ball control. I think that actually plays into an under on Mahomes there as well. So I'm going to kind of stay in the same vein here, and I'm going to stay with Jerick McKinnon. So this is actually, I'm taking McKinnon. You can do it a couple of ways. I think the best way, you can still get 20.5 receiving yards out there pretty much across the board, varying juice depending on where you're shopping. And this is actually, again, shout out to Pat. He mentioned it a couple of weeks ago in a pod, and I didn't really dig into it until last week when this prop dropped. There was some splits that are pretty significant when Mecole Hardman is out of the lineup. And Pat mentioned it in passing. I made a note of it, went back and looked. They played 29 games together in Kansas City. Hardman has missed 9 of those games. Pretty significant splits. When they're both in the lineup, McKinnon sees about 2.3 targets per game with 1.5 receptions and 13 receiving yards. When he is off the field, Hardman is out, which he has been ruled out for this game. McKinnon sees 5.1 targets, has 4 receptions per game, and 39.6 receiving yards. Those are, I think, pretty drastic and actionable splits. They're going to poke a hole in McKinnon and say maybe he's not healthy. Maybe he's got dead legs. We've seen that in the past. I think, Daigle made a good point of that on our Wednesday show. We saw an increased role for Isaiah Pacheco in the passing game. I think all those things are viable. I think Pacheco can get there as well, because I think part of it is, for me, to neutralize the Eagles' pass rush. I think especially even early, you see a lot of screens from the Chiefs to get them to back out, bring the rush. We're trying to bait you into the rush, and we're going to take advantage with our running backs, because again, we know that there's really not a secondary option outside of Kelce. So I like Pacheco there as well, but I think McKinnon sees an increased role here, 20.5 over. I think 3.5 receptions. Again, that's less than what he has here in the split, 4.1. You can get plus 140 on over 3.5 receptions. Plus 130 that's out there. Some other spots more readily available. I like McKinnon.
I'm on this one with you too. This was going to be my next one, but it's Jerick over 2.5 receptions at DK right now. It's minus 145, but that's still good juice.
That's still good juice.
Not bad.
Yeah, I like it. So I shout out to you. I mean, that was your call. I went digging. People can think maybe that there's something where maybe Kadarius Toney isn't layer to that maybe changes the calculus. I don't know. I think they need Toney, but I don't think that necessarily impacts what we're going to see from McKinnon here. So, Connor, any thoughts on the running backs, how they're using the passing game, and anything like that?
No, I think we've talked about it a little bit, but it's just weird. Like, for me, there's something that's not adding up, something that we're missing probably. 6 straight weeks, Jerick McKinnon outsnapped Isaiah Pacheco. Conference championship game, roles entirely flip. Isaiah Pacheco runs a season high in routes, plays a lot more in the passing game. Maybe it was because of the matchup. Maybe it was because of what they wanted to do. I don't know. It just seemed very strange for us to not see as much McKinnon when they had literally trusted him in every other game that had mattered for 6 weeks straight, had played awesome in those games, and had been like electric, one of their best players. So for me, that was weird. Maybe he was just banged up. Maybe he was dead legs, but 2 weeks off, like, how does that factor in? I think that just saying like, oh, we saw Isaiah Pacheco get there last, and so he's for sure going to have that role again, just kind of misses like what we've seen for, 6-7 weeks. So I think both can get there. Like you said, I think we do see a lot of screens, but that's kind of my only concern is like, if that was signal and not noise, then it's just going to be a little bit thin relative to, what it will be. If he gets his old roller back, I mean, he's going to like go way over all of his numbers.
Yeah, that's kind of why I played at least here too. I do think that the yardage is the best because you can do that on literally one. But I do think he has a role that's worth kind of chasing in terms of volume as well. So I don't mind the minus 145 on 2.5. I'll take a shot at 3.5 based off of the split. I think it's there's something there. I'm going to go with there was a scheme breaker, a tendency breaker a little bit against the Bengals, and we'll see what happens here. But I think we'll have a pretty good feel for that in the first quarter, depending on how much he's out there. But back to you, Connor, for number 2.
Yeah, my second one, Pat already hit on a little bit here, but I like Patrick Mahomes to have a higher completion rate than Jalen Hurts. This is minus 120 at FanDuel. He has a higher completion rate on the year. He had a 2% higher median completion rate. We have projected for, I think, 2.5%, 3% higher at this point. And I think that the Chiefs focus on a lot of like shorter, lower average depth of target throws against a Philly D that does generally a pretty good job stopping deep plays. And looking at the Eagles game plan, I think if they get their way, it's probably going to be, run, like intermediate shot or deep shot. And if the Chiefs decide to bring the house, and decide to just be like, we're not going to let them run, like, no matter what we do, I think that's going to create some more volatile opportunities. I think that the Eagles will still be able to take advantage of that, but it just might be like a, 70-yard touchdown to AJ Brown in the slot and then 3 incompletions on the next 3 times that they try it, like one of those types of just a little bit more volatile type of outcome. So for me, I think that I'm more confident in Mahomes just being able to kind of dink and dunk his way and have a higher completion rate than Jalen Hurts, who, frankly, I mean, since the injury against Chicago, his completion rate has been like 57, 59, 60, and then he had a 66% completion rate, while Mahomes has had, 6 straight games over 100 passer rating, and basically his worst game was better than Hurts' worst, Hurts' best game. So I think in this spot here, I'd probably play it to 130, but it's a good look here at minus 120.
Yeah, I like it. Any thoughts there, Pat?
Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of logical sense. My next one is obviously the one I just kind of agreed with you on. It's Jerick over 2.5 receptions, minus 145 at DraftKings.
Yep. Love that. We're in there. I'm going to go to where I'm most comfortable. We're going to do some tackles. I am going to, let's see what we got here. Make sure I get the best number that's out there for folks right now. Let me see. You can go on FanDuel or Rivers at plus 105. We're going to take Justin Reed, safety for the Chiefs, over 5.5 tackles and assists. This is also, I think, minus 105. DraftKings Bet MGM, that's out there too. So a really good matchup. Best individual matchup on paper is for the Chiefs safeties in the spot against the Eagles. At the team level, safeties are averaging 16.2 tackles and assists per game when facing the Eagles. That is the highest rate in the league. An opposing safety has at least 6 tackles in every game so far against the Eagles. 26 tackles total have topped this mark. So again, we've had multiple safeties top this mark against the Eagles. They give up a ton just based off of what they do, run support in the box. And that's kind of why Justin Reed gets the edge over Juan Thornhill, his teammates, is because basically the same price. Reed plays significantly more in the slot, in the box than we see from Thornhill. Plays more deep safety stuff. So I expect probably 35-40% in the box here for Justin Reed. And again, he has 6 or more in 3 straight, 5 out of the past 6 contests. Plus money for Justin Reed here is a great look, over 5.5 tackles and assists. So
I like it. It's Noonan, people have asked me, like, what's the strangest props you've been betting on? So occasionally on a radio spot here and there, I've been shilling your props and giving you credit, of course. But,
nice.
I'm like, I got some, my strange friend over here has been diving into tackle and assist props. So the people have loved it. So
nice. Strange friend or strange props? Both apply. So
maybe both.
All right. Number 3, Connor, back to you.
Yeah, my third one is a new one and one that I'm really interested to hear your guys' opinions on. I like Dallas Goedert over 47.5 receiving yards. So if you look at his whole schedule, he's gone over this in only 8 of 14 games. But this matchup in particular, I really like for him. So Dallas Goedert against teams who play middle of the field open coverage. So it's like cover 2, cover 4. Kansas City plays that at the second highest rate in the league. Against those teams that play a lot of coverages like that, 90% catch rate, 2 yards per out run, 12.2 yards per reception, like literally one of the best in the league. This is better than AJ Brown against the coverage, better than Devonta Smith against this coverage. And if we look at the games where Dallas Goedert hasn't gone over 47.5, 4 of the 6 games were against Dallas, Washington, and New Orleans. Those teams ranked 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in DVOA against the tight end. The other game was against San Francisco, where he had 5 catches, 23 yards. I mean, the game didn't matter by halftime. And the other one, he had 46. So he was right around this number against the Giants. So I think in a good matchup, in a number where when you contextualize it, he's been basically right around there in, average matchups and neutral matchups, and if not over. And then in the tough matchups, he's gone predictably under. So for me, it makes a lot of sense here. I think that it's a good matchup, and I'm having trouble with the AJ Brown, Devonta Smith split. I think that either one of those could get there, but I'm just more confident in Goedert getting 50 plus receiving yards fairly easily.
2 of the games you pointed out too was with Gardner Minshew starting and not Hurts.
Yep. Mm-hmm. That's a good point. Love it.
Even better. Yeah, it's a good look. I'm sure there's some crazy alt exotic that ties in both tight ends. There has to be somewhere. You have to, hopefully not Caesars, where you have to unbox every prop to actually see what's behind the number that's posted for him. But
that's the worst prop menu I think I've ever seen. If you go to their novelty props, it's just maybe 200 props that you have to click and every single one be able to drop down. I don't know what the guys at Caesars are doing. DraftKings is a very nicely organized. Most other sites do as well, but Caesars for some reason just dropped the ball and was like, they won't care. We'll just put it all in one single menu and they can figure it out from there.
DraftKings by far, everyone should just have the DraftKings model in terms of how they lay it out. It's just
definitely,
instead of having to click into all the stuff, and it's by far the best. So all right, like it. Tight ends. Pat, number 3.
Number 3, that's the one I've been talking about all week. It was the first one that I bet on. I got it 7.5. It's now 8.5. Don't really care. I like Boston Scott over 8.5 rushing yards. He has hit this number in 6 or 7 games. A lot of those have been blowouts. Sure. In that game against the Saints, he only ended up with 2 carries, the game that they lost. And, that's one of the better, at least at that point of the season, one of the better defenses in football. And he actually had a long of 8 in that game and then went backwards. So if he can get to 3 carries in this game, gotta think he's there.
Yeah, it looks like his carry number is basically 2.5 plus 130, 135. So books are telling you probably around 2. But again, it's a pretty low threshold at 7.5. But I could see him getting 3 carries here too. So maybe even plus money on the over 2.5 is not a bad look too, especially if you are in the mindset where 35 to 13, that's probably a one-way ticket. On the Eagles side, that bodes well for Boston Scott. Any thoughts there, Connor, on low threshold for B. Scott?
I think I'd rather play Boston Scott's over than Kenneth Gainwell's over. And that's because I think that Boston Scott has basically kind of been a little bit involved no matter what, 1-2 carries around the goal line and maybe he gets a 3rd or 4th. Whereas, Gainwell has basically been non-existent until the 2nd quarter-ish, and then they get him involved a little bit, and then the game's been out of hand, so then he gets 10 more carries. We have 4 weeks now of Miles Sanders against New Orleans. He was in a knee brace, and so was barely used. Dallas in the final game against the Giants, week 18, was also on the injury report, really limited, and then the last 2 games were blowouts. So he started the game, had the majority of carries, and then the game was just over, and they stopped using him. I think his last touch in the conference championships was with 13 minutes left or something, or maybe it was 11 minutes left in the 3rd quarter. He really was just not used after that. So I worry a little bit about the ancillary guys on the Eagles, but I think that Scott's prop is so low. I just don't think it matters. Literally, like Pat said, he can get there 1 carry given the matchup, 2-3 carries. I think you're in a really good spot to get this over.
If you remember when we did the conference championship games, I had Miles Sanders under everything, and him not playing past that point really helped.
Oh, yeah. I was nervous. I was very nervous. I'm not going to lie. I think we're on a good streak, though, with Miles Sanders. I think we're 3 or 4 in a row where we've hit and agreed on at this point. So just one of those guys that I got a good vibe on. It's not an official play for me on the show because it's been kind of blasted, but I did play over 55.5 too at open. Now it's 61, 62, which is still fine. But that's an extra 2 carries probably. So
I just was looking on an odd screen and I saw a number that's way off market, and now I'm actually in the book and verifying that this is the case. And it won't let me bet it because I'm probably streaming, but I'm gonna do it for the people. I'm gonna mush the line for the people because PointsBet, if you happen to have PointsBet, the Boston Scott number is 5.5.
Whoa.
minus 130.
Still not bad. Because,
No, that's fine.
worth it.
It's 8.5 minus 110 at other places.
Yeah, I mean, like Caesar's a significantly sharper book, which would be, hesitant to move it as quick. Is up to 10.5 on Boston Scott. Now again, it's plus 112. So it's chasing the over there. You're definitely paying the tax, but PointsBet at 5.5 is very much off market relative to other spots. So have at it, folks. I'll see if it's there in 35 minutes or so when we're off. But if you happen to be watching live and you have PointsBet, Boston Scott 5.5 minus 130.
I'm pretty sure $10 moves the line at PointsBet. So we'll see. I'm sure.
So what's going to happen is you're going to click it. You're going to go to bet it. They're going to spin you, and then it's going to be available at 8.5. But actually, they pushed it through. So they took your bet at 8.5. Didn't tell you that they moved the line. And even if you have that option opted out, that is, at least my experience at PointsBet happens multiple times last year during the draft in particular, actually, ironically, where you get it put on the hamster wheel and you're just looking at it like, what is going on? And then, he accepted it, but we changed the number and the price and your stakes. Thanks for playing. So,
yeah, the worst.
And also PointsBet, always verify your own wagers. Don't allow them to grade without checking it yourself. Multiple emails, multiple times where you have to be like, hey, this one actually, please give me my money. So, all right. Boston Scott, number 3 for Mayo. I like it. I'm going to give another one that I have not given out yet. I'm trying to get some information here specifically. But either way, I kind of like this number. And if we're wrong on a situation, we're going to have a nice live betting opportunity. I'm going to take, again, I have not pushed this out to subscribers yet either. Trent McDuffie, cornerback for the Chiefs. We're going to take over 4.5 tackles and assists. This is plus 116 on Caesars. This is plus 118 on Rivers, minus 105 MGM, DraftKings. So readily available at a good number. So it's been back and forth between L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie in terms of who's playing the slot for Kansas City. Sneed got injured early in the game against Cincinnati, but all of his snaps were on the outside. And we've seen how this has played out. And it makes sense too. If you think about just the slot corner is closer to the line of scrimmage, is naturally in the box more, can support the run better versus being out wide. They give themselves more opportunities. And we saw this all season. We crushed L'Jarius Sneed consistently. He was always 5.5 and he's always getting 6 or 7. There was not a huge ceiling to ladder him, but he was never falling below 6 tackles. Then all of a sudden he had back-to-back games, like 2 tackles, and then had 3 tackles. And the more I dug in looking at it, he had moved and he was outside. Trent McDuffie all of a sudden was having 6 and 7 tackles, and McDuffie was playing the slot. So it looks like, based off of what they were trying to do last week or 2 weeks ago against the Bengals, is that they were going to have him out wide or him against as more often or not, because he doesn't shadow. They're going to have him on some of the better receivers. I think you're going to have that with whether it's A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, L'Jarius Sneed is their top corner, and they're going to have McDuffie, who's been really good for them as a rookie, in the slot. And 4.5, especially at plus money, is a really bad number. If we're wrong and McDuffie's out wide, it's Sneed's in the slot, we're going to have a great live opportunity to bet on Sneed at 4.5 or 5.5 in the first quarter of that game. So at plus money pregame, I'm taking McDuffie over 4.5. Again, Chiefs cornerback there, readily available at plus money. So that'll be pushed out to subscribers here after I try to get Boston Scott's number, and then I'll try to put that out for subscribers. So that is number 3 for me. Connor, back to you for your last one, and then we can get into some nonsense. So give me one, and then we'll get into the rest of the craziness after.
I'm excited for the nonsense because Pat lives in Canada, and they actually have a lot of the stuff that we are.
Their
not allowed to bet
FanDuel is
on.
better than our FanDuel.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
Don't even know what that is.
Oh, that's true. That's true. That's never heard
yeah.
about it. Yeah, I don't know if it's ready.
They offered the national anthem there, and I was reaching out to some Canadian friends to get me some money on that because the answers to the test have been revealed.
Oh, have
we
they?
are not allowed to bet
Is
on
it over or under?
Well, over. I mean, it depends what the number is. It was 119 at like minus. It was like minus 280, but I mean, it was like 7 seconds off, so it was like not even close. I don't know what this is. What it was yesterday. Someone in our Discord pinged me who lives in Canada and was like, "Hey, like, what do you think about these?" And I was like, "Wow, this is incredible!" Like, I mean, Bovada, or I guess we're not even allowed to say that on the show, but another offshores have it at 127, and that's about right. So, or like 2 minutes and 7 seconds. and I was seeing 119 on FanDuel. Anyways, we'll go to my next prop here. Not nearly as fun, but actually maybe a little bit crazier than the national anthem. I'm taking Kadarius Toney's over rushing and receiving yards, only 34.5. He hit this in 3 straight games before playing just 4 snaps at the conference championship. Honestly, I view this more as like, can he not get injured in the first half of the game? Like that's like, I think he hits this if he doesn't get injured in the first half. And part of that is because we've been hearing, Andy Reid saying he was running around yesterday, doing really well. James Palmer came out, said that there was going to be a lot of plays designed, said that the chemistry with him and Mahomes has been there, all the nonsense there. Even if all that's like wrong, like I think that, and it doesn't matter because he's so explosive. Like this number is just so low. Like you saw him get involved in handoffs a couple weeks before when he gets even, a couple targets here and there. He's in a great spot to capitalize. And it's not like Juju's a little bit banged up. Mecole Hardman's out, like they have a lot of volatility on this position where it's not like he's buried on the depth chart anymore. And in the last game where people were really worried about his role, I think after only playing what I think was 12, 15 snaps 2 weeks before, and he was still getting over this number. He played, the first 4 snaps. Like he started and played the first 4 snaps, something we hadn't necessarily seen in previous weeks. So I lean towards I like the over at 34.5 rushing and receiving because I do not want to get cucked again by getting the receiving over and having him have 3 handoffs for 30 yards and us losing, because that did happen against the Raiders and didn't feel like a good spot to be in. I feel like we were right, but we didn't end up getting paid for being right.
I'm looking on one of these silly Canadian books and trying to find this now, and they don't have Super Bowl listed on their front page.
Oh wow.
That is
You could probably bet on youth hockey matchups.
Oh yeah, like Scandinavian hockey in. I don't want to go to popular. I want to go to stupid bets, stupid special bets. Come on.
Yeah, that's tough.
These bastards out there moving the Boston Scott line on me. It's all right. It's all good, but
is it out right now? Is it blasted or what?
It's not blasted, but it just jumped up a little bit, but it's okay. There are some yeah, that's all right. We appreciate it. We want to give the people the good stuff. So I'll let Pat find his national anthem. We have some other stuff too. I don't know, maybe Pat has access to some of the halftime, first song, last song stuff. Want to blow that up in case we ever get access to it, Connor. I don't know if we're going to, but
we won't get access to that. We might get national anthem, but it's priced appropriately at like a lot of other places. So I don't think it even matters if we get it. Like you can't really bet 2 minutes and 7 seconds either way, I don't think. But the halftime stuff, I don't think we'll ever get, but they have it in Canada, I think, or at least in some spots. I don't know, if we want to give that out, but I think a lot of other people have talked about it. So Rihanna is doing the halftime show, and the last song will be nice and shiny. I think that's about as far as we'll go.
Yeah. And you probably don't want your kids around for the start of the first song.
Yeah.
So we'll leave it at that. Pat, how about the last one for you?
So Miles Sanders under 1.5 receptions is probably, I'm guessing, the biggest lopsided juice prop of the week. It's minus 235 now. So I can't in good conscience give that out as a play, although it is playable up to, by my numbers, up to minus 220, which is kind of hilarious that it opened at 1.5 again. But it's a nice piece for a same game parlay. Like I've played a few same game parlays and just keep chucking that one in. So obviously it's going to go over now and screw up the rest of them. I'll somehow get the rest of them right. And that's the way that it's going to be. 2 minutes and 7 seconds, by the way, is all I can find now.
Yeah, it's dead.
With the under being plus 125.
Yeah, that's just about right. I don't think there's not an edge on that. There was 7-8 seconds off on FanDuel or the other book, before. So 2 minutes to 7, I don't think is really bettable, unfortunately.
Yeah, I missed it. So I'm going to take a page out of my guy, Rob Pizzola's book. He gave this one to me. It's at DraftKings Sportsbook. It's down from 145 to plus 120, I think. But it's Ducks and Golden Knights total goals more than total punts in the Super Bowl.
Okay.
I
bet earlier, actually the first bet I made, we have a mutual friend that tracks punts and penalties, and he was all about under 7.5 punts, which is now dead. It's I think it's juiced out to minus 175, 180. So I took that one. So you're looking at probably 8 goals in that game or so. It's not bad.
Maybe 7. It's probably over under 6, I'd guess.
Yeah.
I don't know, what is 6.5?
That's probably, that makes sense.
I'm going to a hockey game tonight, Pat. You got any other hockey takes? I'm going to the Blackhawks game tonight. Do you follow hockey at all? I don't know a single player in the team, so
You know about as much as I do about this. So.
That's racist.
I just trust Rob. This is Rob's thing. I can't even find first song now. It's just what color is going to be her first outfit.
I mean, maybe we can get that eventually too. I don't know. Oh boy!
If you find it, you can DM me. I'll let you know what I know.
So what was the hockey game that you bet on? It was a cross sport prop. It was Knights and who?
Yeah, it was Anaheim and Vegas total goals over total punts in the game.
Oh, I'm into it. I like that a lot.
It's probably on Caesars, and you probably just have to click through all that crap to find it.
It's actually on DraftKings Sportsbook.
Oh, nice.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah, if you go to, where is it? It's under, Jesus, there's a lot of stuff. Cross sport specials, then go to the drop down. You can go by sport, so it's NHL, NFL.
Goals over punts. Okay.
I'm into it.
I got a cross sport special for you, Pat. I'd love to get your thoughts on it. I'll give it to you after. I'm going to do my a different last one. So, all right, let's see. A couple ways you can bet it. So, well, two guys I really like in the tackle market here. TJ Edwards, linebacker for the Eagles, under 8.5 tackles, pretty readily available. And at the same time, Nick Bolton, the main linebacker for the Chiefs, over 10.5 tackles. You can get some pretty good juice on that. There's some 9.5s out there, but I like Bolton at 10.5. Now, if you have MGM will let you bet on most tackles in the game. And Bolton is minus 145, which is a great way to get down on that. Because really Edwards is definitely the closest competition, unless, Justin Reed or someone else who I gave out earlier just goes berserk. And Bolton, to lead the game in tackles is minus 145 on MGM. So if you have that book and you can get anything down there, that's a great look. But I like Bolton over 10.5. and Edwards under 8.5. Chiefs have just been a place where middle linebackers have underperformed all season long. 29th in tackles per game against the position. Just a lot of really good linebackers have, had 6-7 tackles. Just the way that the Chiefs play, they throw a lot. They play even short stuff a lot of times is to the boundaries. They're another team that gives up a lot of tackles to safeties more than their middle linebackers. Edwards is disappointed numerous times in the last couple of months. So 8.5 is a nice spot. I haven't projected for 7.6. Bolton has showed insane ceiling with upside of getting to 15 here. Great matchup against the Eagles. They've allowed the 6th highest rate of linebacker tackles. Bolton won't come off the field. And we know that Philly is going to run a good amount and run successfully. That kind of bodes well with why we see a lot of tackles for linebackers against them. So Bolton over, Edwards under, and if you have MGM, you can take Bolton to lead the game in tackles. It's a great look. So that is the full tackle card as of now. So you all get that, and I think those are all still pretty actionable in terms of where the prices are at. So, all right, well, we'll break up the nonsense with us for a minute. Then we'll come back and wrap up with some of the crazies, and then we'll give producer Sal a moment to share his card. Let us know what his thoughts are, and then we'll see if we could poke any holes in there and see what Sal's up to. If you want to share your screen. All right, Sal. All right, this is fancy, Sal. All right, so I got 6 picks here. Longest rush, Jalen Hurts, over 13.5. I like this quite a bit. I had it on my card to do a little bit of work. I haven't got a chance to do so yet, but I like it. Just off the top of my head, I think he is. I think I looked at it. He's had a lot of games right around that number, a lot of 10, 11s. But I have no problem with that. Maybe there's a better price than 118 out there. But off the top, Connor, any thoughts on Hurts over 13.5 longest rush?
No, I think he'll get there. I mean, I just don't know. It's with him. I feel like it's one of those spots where we saw the 49ers just read him every single play. And so I don't think the Chiefs are going to do that. So I think there's a little bit of bias there. And they were still, I think he had 10 combined designed runs the past 2 weeks. So not like they're not running him at all. I think it's a decent amount. So all it takes is one for a Chiefs defense that has played well against some mobile quarterbacks, not as well against others. So yeah, I think it's a good look.
Pat, any thoughts on Hurts longest rush?
I think that's the right one. I obviously it's almost like the Boston Scott thing. This one just takes a little bit of a breakdown and you're there.
Yep. The other next two we've talked about. Kelce paying a little bit of the Kelce tax, moved a little bit on Sal there, 81.5, but I think Connor laid that out for us. Nick Bolton, 10.5. We're good. It's a nice little number, minus 105. Kenneth Gainwell, let's see, over 1.5 receptions at -130. I bet Gainwell in the last time against the Niners, because we kind of saw Gainwell have a spike in work against really stout run defenses. I don't know that the Chiefs apply to that, but they definitely like getting Gainwell on the field. We just kind of talked about how even late in the games, like you guys kind of luck boxed out a little bit with Sanders just not playing for most of the fourth quarter there. Any thoughts on Gainwell, Pat, over 1.5 receptions, -130?
I don't like Gainwell at all in this game, and not because I think he's going to go under. It's just I have no real read on what he is going to be doing, and that just kind of throws me for a loop, whether it's over, under, his usage, whatever it may be. So he's a stay away player for me.
Yeah, makes sense. Connor, how about you, bud?
I think that if you want to play Gainwell over, this is probably the right place to do it. Kansas City is like allowing, I believe 7.5 targets per game for the running back position. We saw Samaje Perine catch 4 passes for, 0 yards, but he caught a bunch of them. And then Joe Mixon caught a couple as well. So I think if one of the two backs is going to catch anything, it will be Gainwell. But yeah, I think I would lean over on Gainwell here at the receptions if you are going to play it, because I will never be playing the yards again on one of those things again, especially on some bum like Perine.
I think that if you're going to play Gainwell, I think this is probably the one to go to, that or some sort of rushing yards ladder.
Yeah, right.
Like if he goes over, he's going really over.
Oh, yeah.
Isaiah Pacheco, over 2.5 receptions at +120. We kind of spoke about that a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised.
Like this one. I love this under.
Okay. Yeah, the under, you're probably looking at -160, 170 or so here. Connor, kind of have your thoughts in terms of, I think both running backs are involved in the passing game, but 3 receptions is a pretty high. But again, it's juicing up the parlay nicely, Sal. And then Boston Scott to have a touchdown, 4-1. Pat gave out a pro Boston Scott's take earlier. We've seen him get some of that work in and around the goal line. That's actually the only thing that would concern me around Boston Scott is like even the 7.5 rushing yards, 8.5 rushing yards is like his 3 carries come inside the 5. He gets 3 carries for 5 yards and scores twice. Something like that. I could see him getting some work around the goal line. So don't hate that. And again, 117-1, 5 to win, 592. 117-1. Pat and I bet on guys to win golf tournaments. I bet on Jerick Higgo to win the Waste Management at 250-1. So I have no judgment in someone sprinkling in some long shots at decent numbers to enjoy your Super Bowl. Again, just because you can bet on everything doesn't mean you have to, but it is the Super Bowl, and be responsible but have fun. So this is be a fun sweat for Sal.
Yeah. Speaking of, Sal also brought up another one. Jackson Mahomes over under 1.5 TikToks during the Super Bowl. Hammer the under. It's -180. Only posted 1 TikTok each of the past 2 games. I went into it. Sal and I did a little novelty prop episode. So bring the hammer out, smash the under. Jackson Mahomes doesn't have time to make 2 TikToks during the Super Bowl. So yeah, I like under.
You spent time on Jackson Mahomes' TikTok, which is,
whatever pays the bills, grinding that rent money.
Dark corner of the web. So, all right, let's get into some of the wonkier stuff. Again, novelty props. Talked about some of this stuff on the Wednesday show, but share some of it and see what Pat's thoughts are and see if he's got any crazy stuff. I'll start with the one that talked about, a cross sport one, to get some of Pat's thoughts, because this is definitely in his lane here. Again, on Caesars, you have a crazy drop-down menu. This is number 45. They are not in numerical order either. So I'm doing you a favor by telling you it's 45, but you cannot just scroll down and get to that. You just have to find number 45.
You can control F that.
You can control F it. There you go. Scotty Scheffler, 4th round score, or Kansas City Chiefs offensive plays in the game. Scotty -105 and -130. This is a what will be more prop. So I think Scotty's score will be higher. Again, part of what I talked about on the show the other day, a lot of what I do on the tackle side is projecting plays. It starts with how many plays are going to be in the game, because everything is kind of derived off of that. I have the Chiefs, I think, pretty comfortably at like 61, 62 in this spot. Scheffler's only giving up 1.5 here. Again, Scotty's scoring average in the 4th round last year was like 67 and change. Scoring average overall is like 68.5 last year. Again, he won this event last year, was 4 under, which is a 67 here in the fourth round. He was 16 under for the tournament. So basically on average, 67 each round. So I just don't think we're going to have a ton of plays in this game from Kansas City side. And to the point that Pat made at the top, if there's anyone that's kind of controlling this game from a play standpoint, I do think it's probably Philly. And we've seen that against their opponents the last couple of games. I think over the last 3 games, their opponents are averaging 53 plays per game. We would need Scotty to go absolutely nuclear. Maybe he can. Would like to think that pin placements on Sunday are a little bit tougher. We did see fewer birdies per round here last year at the Waste Management in the 4th round than in other spots. So on Caesars, give me Scotty minus 1.5 to have higher strokes than Kansas City Chiefs plays.
I like that a lot. I only have the Chiefs projected for 58 plays. So
yeah,
unless Scotty goes super crazy, you're probably pretty good there.
Yeah. Again, you're only minus 1.5, and I don't mind that juice. So
is that even possible? Like what? I mean, like, can someone shoot a 58?
Jerick shot a 58 once.
Yeah.
Wow.
Doesn't happen often.
No,
it does not happen often. So I think you're all right. So yeah, I like the 58. I think that's kind of 58, 62 is probably a safe range for Chiefs plays. So find that on Caesars. Good number. Connor, any wonky ones that you want to share with the crowd?
I took a fun one that I thought was interesting was I think the Chiefs are going to win, but that's just my guess. I had Philly first half, Chiefs second half. That's plus 625. Philly, best first half team in the league, best first half team with Jalen Hurts since the 2007 New England Patriots, actually 19.1 points per game or points per game in the first half. And I think part of that is actually because they just haven't even been tested in the second half. They've just been taking their foot off the gas. But if you think that the Chiefs win, I think there's still a good chance the Eagles win the first half. So it's like plus 600 something. And there's still a way that, if the Eagles win the first half and go up and the Chiefs can win the second half without winning the game. So I don't know, just kind of a fun one. It's like plus 600.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. Pat, you got any wonky novelty props?
I don't, weirdly enough. It's just not really, unless it's usually the anthem, but I missed the tweet, I guess, that came out. And usually I allocate like $3,000 every year to bet on the anthem, and it just pays for all my losses throughout the course of the year. I've never lost betting it. So I was asleep at the wheel this year. So this kind of sucks.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because like 3 years ago, whatever, Demi Lovato, it's like I had like 5x action on the anthem than I had in the rest of the game combined. And I was at your house, right?
I witnessed his girlfriend at the time, now wife, just like really concerned that Connor did not seem to care about the game, but like needed to like be in front of the TV when the anthem started. And I think she got a nice purse out of it, right?
Yeah, it was shoes because you guys shamed me into buying or something because they're like, oh, you won a lot of money, right? And I was like, oh, like a little bit, and then they're like, she's like, oh, well, how much, and I was like, oh, fuck, like I'm so you and Silva shamed me into buying her some shoes, but it was worth it. It was
you were really intense. I mean, you were like,
I was excited, man.
Focused. Yeah. It was fun
because
to watch.
at the time, this is before the guy tweeted out the recording. This is before a guy like, a prominent sports bettor gave it out to all of his thousands of subscribers last year. That ruined the market as well. There were ladders under and over on the anthem. So like I had plus 200, plus 400, plus 500 on all the ladders down because I bet the under. And like that stuff we can't even find us. We found one time after like 10 minutes of searching for Pat. It's not even the US, it's a Canadian. So it's brutal.
Yeah, different world now. Just dries up. Another one in the same vein that I gave in terms of like plays, you can bet on Caesars as well. The team to have the most offensive plays to be the Eagles, minus 150. So a little bit of juice there. Pat, you mentioned 58 for the Chiefs. What's your Eagle play projection?
I have them at 62.
Yeah. I'm willing to lay that. I think I have them at 65. I'm okay with the minus 150 there. So, and then last one I think is interesting that I kind of talked about the other night. I like the punts angle, the under 7.5 punts, but again, like minus 175 is the best way to do that. On DraftKings, you can bet under 338.5 total yards on punts for minus 130, and you would need you need some monster kicks here. And even at 8, if it happens to get, over, I still think you can get there on like 7 punts. You'd be like 48.5 net yards, which is would be like second or third in the league. This like Kern, the Eagles punter, is not very good. So even if I think you have a little bit of coverage here in terms of even if the punt number goes over, I think the yardage is baked in a little too high on the yards there. So I like that on DraftKings, under 338.5 total punt yards. Again, I think 8 is like 46 and change per punt. So no problem with that. I think I have a piece of under 7.5. Again, think it's live, even if it gets to 8. So again, if we get into a punt fest and, 9, 10 punts, we're in trouble, but I don't think we're going to get there with these two teams. So that's readily available. Connor, any other ones before we get to some of the listener questions and wrap it up?
No, let's hop into the listener questions here.
Okay, a couple minutes left here. Sam, shout out to Sam. Question of the day, pressing news. Tiger, looks like we Tiger thoughts. We taking Tiger at Riv. What's a number, knowing that there's no chance that we're going to get a decent number, Pat, where you would take Tiger next week at Riv?
1,000 to 1. No, I'm serious. Like even
I get
Tiger, even when Tiger was Tiger, he was bad at Riviera.
It's Tiger's events. It's gonna be like 40, 45.
Well, it's just really funny that this is his event, but this is statistically the course where he's performed the worst in his career. Like it's mind-boggling.
Better than almost everyone else in the field.
What does that mean? His event, like he sponsors it, or like he started it or something, or?
Yeah, he is the host. Like there's the Arnold Palmer Invitational. That's at Mayo. Memorial is Jack Nicklaus's tournament. Obviously the Byron Nelson was Byron Nelson's tournament for ages, but he long gone. Still called the Byron Nelson though. But this is Tiger's tournament.
Oh,
yeah. Oh, Morikawa is going to win it. So hopefully we get a good number if he implodes today.
Yeah, can we get a Morikawa rally today? That would be nice.
I would love a Morikawa rally. I'd love to bet him to go back to back. I know that's your guy too, so even though you have no problem cheering on Morikawa. So yeah. All right, same thing. Or if Morikawa or Max can't get it done, I hope they implode a little bit so we can get a decent number on them next week. But yeah, Riv is a great golf tournament. Excited to watch that one. Fun guy wants to know what's the most fun prop to bet. I don't know, the ones that you can win money on. I don't know what's constitutes as fun. Fun for me is more money in my accounts when the game ends than when the game started. But I don't know what's tackles are fun for me. Connor, what's fun for you?
I mean, well, see, he puts in there if you don't care to lose a few bucks. So go over to the option that says same game parlay, take every single prop that we talked about and go to the ladders and just max all of them and put them all in there. And it'll be like $5 to win like 10 grand, 20 grand. So there you go. You want the best way to win it. All of our props are going to hit. They're all going to max the ladders and you'll be rich. So come back to us, comment, subscribe, and let us know how that goes.
I'm looking at Genesis right now and like Tiger over the course of his career. He like didn't play it for 8 years because he was so bad at the course.
I mean, really, I do think he's going to be at like 50 or shorter.
That's impossible.
And people will, when we get, you don't think so?
No, I don't.
I mean, I don't think it's a good number.
You know what? Maybe you're right. I've had such a bad idea of how Tiger Woods is priced in any market since like the comebacks first started that I found that they're all just terrible odds. Even when he won the Masters, those were terrible odds.
Oh no, I agree. I totally agree. That's why he's going to be priced there. I don't think it's completely unbettable. I'm with you. Like there's just no way if he opens up at 100, which he should be like longer than that he lasts. It's just people are just going to hammer. Maybe the casual's not betting Monday morning opening odds, but he'll be boosted in a bunch of spots, and I can't imagine that he's out there at longer than 50 or 60. What stupid one did I use a free bet on? Oh, will there be a fake punt or fake field goal? That's a singular event where like you don't need a bunch of things to happen. I found a 34 to 1. I had a free bet on a site to not be named, and just decided if it happened, I'd be like, oh yeah, I bet on that. And 34 to 1, why not? We'll see.
What about the octopus? That's gotten a lot of traction this year on the Super Bowl. I don't really know why. That means, for those of you who don't know, it means a player scores a touchdown and then scores the ensuing 2-point conversion. I don't know. It's like I've seen like 14-1 on some places. I mean, it seems like it's definitely not priced correctly. Like it should probably be like 30-1, but I don't know. Any thoughts?
Yeah, well, it sounds a lot like that. Oh, both Kelce's to score a touchdown in the game, 100-1. It's like, really, 100-1. That's it. Why don't we make it 10,000-1? And maybe we can have some interest here.
Yeah.
None of this stuff.
So
You got to know too. Like it is the Super Bowl. It's fun. If there's not another side, if it is a one-way market, meaning you can only bet yes or no, you just have to know that you're getting in bad, and that's okay. That doesn't mean that you can't do it. Just there's you're paying the tax basically. You are the rake. Mary, shout out to Mary, subscriber 4 3+ rushing touchdowns overall in the game. I don't know what the number is on that, but I could see some rushing touchdowns. I mean, made the case for Boston Scott scoring a couple times. We've seen the Chiefs be willing to run at the goal line. Any thoughts on that, Connor?
I mean, I don't know. I probably need the odds, like in terms of like, I mean, I don't even know how this would be priced. Probably about even, I would guess. I don't know at this point. Like, I mean, 3+ rushing touchdowns, maybe it should be plus money, I would guess. I don't know. I mean, I think it's fine. I don't really have too much of a take there. Touchdowns are really volatile, but hey, you want something to root for? I mean, I've certainly bet on dumber shit. So
There was a prop earlier this week on DraftKings. It is now gone. It was Philadelphia Eagles over under 1.5 rushing touchdowns, and the over was plus money. And then it disappeared.
oh, yeah, I like the over there.
Yeah, of course. These were 39 touchdowns on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah, and I bet they're gonna have a good package too for Hurts, like a couple designed runs. This year it's a Super Bowl. I mean, let it all go. They don't gotta save him for anything besides got enough time to heal up any other injury, so he'll be fine.
Yeah, it's exhausting to kind of just scroll through these menus and the different offerings because they're all done different. It's I was going to attempt to find the price on the 3 touchdowns, and we'll be here for another hour. So, Sam wants to know thoughts on Hurts over 10.5 rushing attempts. Pat, any thoughts on that?
I have it at 10 on the dot, so it's no specific lean to me either way.
Yeah, Connor, same.
Yep, same.
I think it's the right number. 9.5, 10 is probably where he's at. Scott,
Wait, what the hell does fastest ball carrier mean?
I saw that.
How do you handicap that? I was considering that. I just couldn't find any of the data. It's like an NGS thing, right?
It's an NGS thing. But yeah.
Is it? So wouldn't Sky Moore be the guy then?
Oh man,
because he's going to return these punts, and if he gets up to a good top speed, then boom, you go.
Is he? He is going to return the punts, isn't he?
I think so.
Because Hardman's out, right? Yeah.
Let's see if we can find anything on this.
I for some reason just have a Sky Moore bias at this point. I'm not really sure entirely why, but I just I'm a little worried about this guy. I thought he was going to be good, and I'm not really. I think he kind of sucks. So, but he can run fast.
He's very fast.
See if none of the there's no Eagles or Chiefs on the top 20 list of fastest ball carriers of the year. I don't know. You have to.
I mean, Sky Moore only touched the ball 10 times the whole year, so that's why he's not on there.
They also don't give you like let's see, conference. This might be a best bets. Yeah, Sky Moore had a 29-yard punt return where he reached 19.92, which was the fastest. Josh Williams, cornerback for the Chiefs, got an interception. He reached 20. Boston Scott reached 19.4. Miles Sanders 18.9. Really? Yeah. Those are your highest.
But you have to remember, in order for that to happen for them, they need some sort of is Sky Moore going to return kickoffs?
Looks like it. I mean, punt return. So kickoff was been Pacheco.
So
Pacheco reached
Pacheco because he'll have the best chance to get up to full speed without anyone touching him.
So he had 18.8 in the conference championships. Let's see if there's anything on the divisional round. Try to get ourselves a larger sample. Yeah. So Pacheco, he had a 39-yard rush in the divisional round where he got to 20.97.
Okay, listen to this. In 2021, who do you think that had the fastest ball carry speed?
I remember looking at this. It was someone totally random. Like it was someone not expected. It was like
it's someone I've always perceived as slow, which shows how much I know.
Was it Daniel Jones or something like that?
It's Melvin Gordon.
Oh my gosh. No way. Really?
Yeah.
What? Melvin Gordon at is it right?
21.52 miles per hour.
No, if you go to all regular season 2021, Jonathan Taylor got 22.13. Okay. I see the Melvin Gordon one, but he's down. He's 16th. Him being on the list is very surprising, though, at 21.5.
I always thought he was super slow. That's strange. Where are you finding all this? I'm on Next Gen Stats and I can't find anything.
I just Googled it.
Next Gen Stats, there's a stats tab. And actually, first thing I did when I was in here, it's top plays. It tells you pick the stat and it tells you the fastest ball carrier.
So that makes sense. Pacheco's plus 400 in this market, then Sky Moore plus 750.
Those are probably both good to get down on a little bit because those feel like the best options.
Yeah, and then it's just a bunch of deep threat guys who, if they get open, they might be, if they're hitting stride, then they'll catch a ball. Maybe I'll throw a little bit on Pacheco and Sky Moore just for fun. I don't even know when that's graded. Like probably like a week later when they process all the chip information. Like
for sure.
So ridiculous.
Yeah, let's see where the Eagles. Jalen Hurts 19 and change. Hurts. So we're not seeing like big AJ Brown or Devonta Smith numbers. Which again, the sample is so small and you just didn't have a chance in one of these games. Is tough. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think Pacheco is probably the best way to attack that one. So, all right. Miles Sanders over 4.5 receiving yards. I mean, he's been an air ball in the passing game. This is an under for me.
Stay away.
Yeah,
that's really low. Because I even have adjusted that he has one catch somewhere.
Yeah. Was he got like 1 or 2 in like the last 6 weeks or something like that? Like he's been.
Yeah, I think the last time he had more than 2 receptions was against Tennessee in the first week of December.
Yeah. Sam wants to know the Eagles number on DraftKings still. The total rushing touchdowns over 1.5 is plus 105 on DraftKings.
Can you ask him where he found that? Like I found it earlier in the week. Now I can't remember where I found it.
Sam, if you're hanging out with us still, let us know what sub menu and drop down menu those are in. Yeah, that's a nice number actually. Plus 105.
Yeah, it's a really good number.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best bet on the board. It really is. Over 1.5 rushing touchdowns. How do the Eagles score?
No, I like it.
Yeah, they run the ball.
Yeah, they always run the ball.
They have more rushing touchdowns than any team in the history of the NFL this year.
So Super Bowl specials, rush.
Super Bowl specials.
Oh, yep. Yeah, there it is. Plus 105. Found it. You have to like go to the game, then click Super Bowl specials, and then scroll all the way down.
I didn't scroll over. That's what I failed to do. I didn't see the little arrow there. Okay, there we are. Boom. Let's get it.
Best bet on the board.
It's a really good bet.
I like it.
Yeah, I'm into it.
I would love to know if anyone else finds it anywhere other than DraftKings. If I can get more than $2.30 on it, would be fantastic.
So this is under rush props, right? It's under Super Bowl specials and rush props.
Yep.
It's not here for me.
You'll see like player with rush attempts, Eagles with total rushing touchdowns, team with most rushing yards, rush attempts.
Yeah, that's all here. I think in the Canadian version of DraftKings Sportsbook, this is not on the board.
Oh, man.
Sam responded, not bad finding that for a guy from Indiana. Sam, appreciate you listening all year. And sorry you live in Indiana, but we do appreciate you listening.
Yeah.
And I'd love to get down on it for you. I can't.
I would like to buy some meth. Can you find that for me as well? I assume that's very easy to find in Indiana.
I think his cousin probably sells it.
/ his brother.
Yeah.
It would be nice to Sam. Sam is a good.
He found this, so I'm sorry, Sam.
Yes. Sam has been an OG tackle guy with me. He sweats the golf bets with me too. Sam's a good dude, even though he's from Indiana. So perfect way to wrap up the prop drop show for this season. So appreciate you hanging with us all season. Greatly, greatly appreciate it. Again, find all the Pat stuff. There is going to be lots of good content on all the Mayo Media Network. What did Feinberg call it the other day? The Mayo Media Experience.
The Mayo Media Experience.
Pretty great. What are the offseason plans?
Another 3-putt from Justin Thomas.
I can't do 2 things at once. I'm just doing the show, so
he's killing me. No, I just looked. I was like, oh, he made another bogey. How did that happen? So he has 2 3-putts in his last 4 holes. It's outrageous. Outrageous.
Yeah.
This is what I'll be doing during the offseason.
If you like Swing and Golf, Mayo Media Network, Pat Mayo Experience, YouTube, podcast, subscribe, rate and review, thumbs up, show Pat some love for showing us love and hanging out with us all season. Like I said, Connor and I will be back after a little bit off, hopefully some vacation time, and we're back doing some draft stuff sooner than later. We'll do some other offseason stuff. We'll get into futures. We'll break down some divisions. We'll break down coaching matchups. We will be here. So anytime you want to find stuff, make sure that you're finding us in the podcast forum. You can also, again, subscribe to the 4for4 YouTube page. You get all the other great content that we have going on as well. So good luck. Bet responsible, but tail and parlay everything we gave you today and make lots of money. We're Pat and Connor. I'm Ryan. We'll see you all next time. Thanks, everybody.